Hi, and welcome to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. We're your hosts, Kirsty Jandra and Kate Rajba, here to sprinkle a little inspiration, guidance, magic into your day. Join us as we explore the spiritual journey of guests and share stories that uplift and inspire. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let us know what you think. Now, let's dive in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Kate and I are thrilled today to welcome to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast the beautiful soul that is Kelly Boyer. And we're delighted you're here to talk about your work today and the 7 Hermetic Principles and the framework of your method, the CLEARITY Method, if I pronounce that properly.
Mhm. Yes,
You can, you
perfect.
can just um and you have a background in metaphysics, mysticism, and psychology. So yeah, we're just here to welcome you and to start to dive into all those amazing elements of who you are and what you do. So thank you, Kelly, for joining us today. We're so delighted that you're here.
Thank you so much for
And
having me. So excited to be here.
oh,
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but I'm very excited to be here. I've been looking forward to talking with you guys. Or like,
no, and thank you. And we've been waiting for you for a little while now, so it's so good to for us all to get together. So for those people in the audience who may not be familiar with you yet, Kelly, could you talk a bit about the magic that you are currently bringing into the world, please?
yeah, so as you mentioned, I have a background in metaphysics, meta and mysticism and psychology and in all honesty, it really even expands outside of that because I like number one, I love knowledge and I love learning and but my favorite part is take to because to me you can have knowledge but take when you take that knowledge and you integrate it into the person that you're wanting to become or into your life. I feel like that's where the real magic and essence really starts to come together. So like many others, we try to come up with names for ourselves, but ultimately I'm a channel. I've been a channel since I'm gonna say from what I can remember since I was 4 years old. Um, but I have now taken that channeling that I have received and now I've kind of shifted it into calling myself a mental alchemist because not only am I a mental alchemist when I talk about like the human mind and the brain and working with all of the neural pathways and the subconscious and everything, which I can do. I'm talking about a mental alchemist on a bigger level when I'm talking about like the greater cosmos. I'm talking about the consciousness that is source creator. So, at a very, very young age, I started receiving these very complex I'm gonna say ideologies because that's how it felt like they came in, like these downloads that I would get. And I'm gonna tell you, I have boxes full of journals of just writing about this from like my little old self up into my adult self. But part of also being able to connect with source creator and bringing in this information of really how things work not only at the microcosm level but the macrocosm level. It's really helped me understand and be able to see potentialities. So it's almost like when we talk about potentialities, we're talking about the quantum field. So I'm all day in, day out going into the quantum field and seeing these potentialities, which a lot of times a way to make it sound more understandable is like timelines. We talk about them as in timelines. So, I like as I got older, I was like the cool friend because people would call me and they'd be like, "Well, what do you see? What's going on?" But what I feel what my calling is taking these huge complex ideologies or concepts or whatever you want to call them from source creator and and like channeling them in and then putting them into a sense of practicality. Like, how can we use them in our everyday life? Like, how can we use them to really reach our own potential while we are living in our human bodies on this beautiful planet? Because we can look at these higher concepts all day long, but if we don't know how to integrate them, then they're just sitting there in our they're just sitting in our logical unconscious mind. Like, we just know about them intellectually. And so I'm all about putting stuff into action. So the way, just so that you know, so the way that I work is that when we're looking at that is I actually created my Clarity Method collective, which is really a mystery school. So inside that collective, I'm going to tell you, I have 3D information and resources that, like, I'm going to tell you kind of in the background, there's like kind of that spirituality, but it's made sense on how to function because, we have to deal with finances, we have to deal with relationships, we deal with our jobs. Like, these are things that we have to deal with on a 3D level, that where I've taken those complex concepts and have been able to really integrate them into us living human, right? And then there's also those greater concepts that I have received from Source Creator that we can learn about, which we'll talk about today, which is part of Hermeticism. And so Hermeticism is the greater concepts that I love to use. And my clarity method is actually the practical structure and steps on how to integrate it into your life. So I have my mystery school because I love to teach and I love to understand how other people think and feel about stuff. And then I also offer mentoring using my clarity method, connecting it all together. So I offer sessions and packages for that. And that, I'm going to tell you, that's my bread and butter right there is, I'm just a channel. That's what I say, but it is pretty magical when I take a step back and I look at it. So
I love that. So nonchalant. I'm just a channel. They like
I'm
any
just a
other,
channel.
right? I'm just channeling and integrating the higher concepts into 3D. I'm just a channel. Absolutely love that. And it reminds me, Kelly, also of that, we often meet that, you go on a retreat and there's this massive change and amazing energies coming through. But then when it comes to the integration part, it's often found, it takes us years and years and years and doesn't come actually to, coming back home, coming back to the same thing over and over. And I love that part that you mentioned that. I think it's so important to mention that more because we would have almost two different timelines happening at the same time, right? Like we have the spiritual and very often, also meeting, oh, that person is very spiritual. Rubbish. We're all spiritual, right? We all have
Yes.
spiritual
Yeah. Yes.
experience.
Absolutely.
We're all, or someone is more advanced than spiritual path. Rubbish. We're all having different experiences, right? And then I love that you're intertwining and you're mentioning that. I think it's really important to mention that more and more. So really love that you're actually working towards that and that's your main focus. But I am really, really keen on diving into, the 7 principles of hermetics. What are they, Kelly, for those that maybe have no idea what it is? If you would be like, if you imagine I'm a baby and I have no idea what it is, if you could explain it to me. So what are they, and why they've been so influential throughout the history, and also how you intertwine them in your work? Like, give it all, Kelly. I want
Yes.
to know it
Oh,
all.
oh my gosh. Okay, so here we go.
We have a few
So,
hours. It's okay, Kelly.
okay, perfect, perfect. Literally, I'm like, in all honesty, I could talk for days about this. And so let's talk about Hermeticism and where it came from and where it actually came from. So Hermeticism has been around for years, and I'm talking about we're talking about way back during I'm going to talk about like ancient civilizations, even before the idea of Christ coming to to walk this earth. So the principles are actually created by I'm going to say we call it a person, but if you do your research, it'll say it's a mix between a Greek god and the Egyptian god, the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. So it really is so Hermes Trismegistus, I always want to make sure I get his name right. He's the one who created these seven principles that were placed on this tablet. The seven principles are really about the universal or cosmic laws or the truth that come from source creator. So what you have to look at it, it's literally the best way I could describe it. It's this the huge umbrella that we as beings, and when I talk about beings, I'm talking about us as humans, galactics, angels, everything. We fall under all of these umbrellas in which all of us flow in and out of these seven hermetic principles all the time, moment to moment to moment. We all adhere to them, whether we consciously know it or not. But I'm going to tell you, the more that we consciously understand them and we can integrate them, the easier our life flow. And so I'll explain that more and kind of give an example of when we're out of flow and when we're in flow. But these seven principles that I'm going to tell you, we all live by them, whether we want to or not, really help with, I'm going to say, our daily living, our manifesting, are when we talk about frequency, vibration, and energy, which I'm going to say, by the way, we oftentimes use those terms interchangeably, but they're actually three different things that are used simultaneously. So I'm on another greater concept that I have. But like these principles are really designed to shape our the macrocosm, and then they shape the macrocosm that then affects the microcosm, so on the individual level. So they are working on a universal level, and then they're working and then we also experience them on the individual level. So I will go through them, um and I'll go through them quickly because I could talk about each one for hours. But the first principle, which is honestly the most important principle, is the law of mentalism. So the law of mentalism, and now you'll see how I got that I'm a mental alchemist in here. So the law of mentalism means the capital ALL is mind. So that means that it is consciousness and it is always expanding. And if we put that on a practical level, our thoughts shape our reality. Every time we have a thought, whether we label it as good or bad, it is feeding this consciousness. And the consciousness is always expanding. And so now I love science. And I was listening to the show the other day, and one of the scientists said, we cannot understand the concept of how the universe itself is in this constant expansion. They literally have tested, and they're like, the universe is expanding at the speed of light. And I'm like, of course it is. If all of us are feeding into that consciousness, can you imagine how expansive that is? I'm like, I don't really think that our human minds can actually understand that. So when we talk about this in a practical way, we need to understand and be cognizant that every single thought that we have is feeding into this consciousness, which then all of us are constantly connecting with this consciousness. So if I have a day where I'm like, today is awful, and I start thinking all of these things that, that are untruths about myself, but I start believing them, I'm feeding into that consciousness. And believe it or not, physics even shows us that if I am feeding into this, that you guys over there on the other side of the world will actually experience that in some kind of way. And so we need to be very conscious of what it is that we're thinking and our beliefs, because we are constantly feeding this field. So that's the law of mentalism. Next is the law of correspondence. And I know that everybody has heard this, and the law of correspondence aligns to as above, so below, as within, so without. So what does that mean? It means that we have patterns that create across all levels of not just our life, but even energetically, spiritually. We have all of these patterns. So it is very true that when we say how we feel inside, then becomes a projection of what is on the outside. So we really do create our reality. So if I'm having a day, and here's just a simple example because I had one the other day. I was having like a really rough day. I was grumpy. I was walking around like na 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 na. And so that was the inside. That was the vibration that I had inside. And then I made the mistake and I stepped outside and decided that I had all these errands that I had to run. And every single person reflected back to me that vibration that I was feeling inside. So what do? I go home and I'm like, everybody's being a jerk today. But that's not the truth, is that I had the vibration of being a jerk. So guess what? Everything that was reflecting back to me was exactly that. So then I'm gonna kind of show you how these principles connect. So I went back to the law of mentalism and I said, "Oh my gosh, what am I feeding the field right now? What am I thinking that is not true that I need to go back and really look at so that I can change?" Which then comes up next is the next principle, that law of vibration that I am carrying within my body. So when we talk about the law of vibration, we need to understand that nothing is at rest. This desk that my computer is sitting on, even though it appears that it is solid, it is always in constant motion. We are always in constant motion. And again, the universe is always in constant motion. So nothing is ever at rest. Everything is moving, everything is vibrating. And so we can actually change our vibration by doing just simple tasks. Mine is I like to listen to music and I dance around my house like a silly person. But there's something about that vibration that it instantly will do a change for me. Another example is that even if I'm having a rough day or I just want to raise my vibration, I go and I hug my dogs because I am now demonstrating the vibration of love that I am now embodying. So we are constantly in a state of vibration. Even when we're sleeping, we're vibrating. So we are never fully at rest. So, and then we'll go into the fourth one, which is polarity. And polarity is opposites that literally is the same thing, but they carry different degrees. So we talk about polarity as in like good and evil, light and darkness. But believe it or not, these things that we're talking about are the exact same. Like there is that middle ground of them being the exact same thing. Okay, so when we talk like let's use temperature like hot and cold. We have the varying degree of hot, like really hot, the varying degree of ice cold, but somewhere in the middle, we don't really know where when hot becomes hot or when cold becomes cold. So one of the ways that we want to do is we oftentimes, as us as humans, we always go to the one extreme and then the other. If we sit down and we really think about, okay, so if I'm feeling like I am really not worthy, there is the extreme opposite of maybe I'm really arrogant, right? So what is that middle ground? Well, that middle ground is I want to have self-confidence while still being able to be humbled. Same thing, different degrees. So the beautiful thing about our planet is that it is created on polarity because if it was not for polarity, we would never have expansion. And so I actually think polarity is a beautiful thing. So the next law is the law of rhythm, which to me, this is part of our alchemization process. Because with alchemy, when we alchemize things within our life, when we're talking about the alchemy of even how a star is created or how a plant goes from a seed to this beautiful plant, we're always going through a rhythm, an alchemization process of different stages. So an example of these stages are seasons. We go through stages of transformation. We actually go through the law of rhythm because from moment to moment we're changing who we are. So we're going through a rapid cycle of who we are in that alchemization. So, the moon has lunar cycles. We literally live in cycles. So, just for people, when we manifest, we often talk about connecting to that vibration, finding that frequency, connecting to that vibration, and then embodying it and really living it. But we also have to remember that we live by the law of rhythm. So, I say by all means hold on to that. But what we mean by when we say let go of that expectation is we're actually saying that we're letting go of the idea of when it's going to happen because we all live in a particular rhythm. And when we can discover what our rhythm is, then we can be like manifesting machines at that time. We know when it's time for us to rest and to stop pushing. There's so many things within that rhythm, and we are constantly living in that rhythm. And so that's the other one that I love is rhythm because I really believe that alchemization is very potent and we can really create within those rhythms. And then the sixth one is cause and effect. I think it's kind of pretty self-explanatory. When we do something, there's an effect. Like, you know, if an example, I'm going to say a practical example is that, the engine, the put oil in my car light comes on. If I ignore it, that's the cause, right? And the effect is now I'm driving down the street and my engine blows up. So there is a cause and effect to everything that we can do. Cause and effect to me really applies to like the idea of victimization, right? We could either be the cause of our life, creating a positive effect, or we can step into victimization, which like we can have a cause where we're always like this doesn't work for me. Like I was acting the other day, where my effect was is that I was truly acting like a victim until I finally snapped out of it, right? And then finally, the last one is gender, which is not like male or female. We're really talking about masculine and feminine energy. Our goal is to always try to balance this in everything that we do, which is not easy to do. And so, really, what we're trying to, and then if we have the concept of understanding that everything has masculine and feminine energy, everything really does have balance. It is the way that we approach it that knocks it out of balance. So, a good example is, when I have somebody come to me and they're like, you know what? I really want to have self-confidence. I'm really trying to do this, but it doesn't ever seem to work. The doing is the masculine part. Like I'm forcing this to happen. And I'm not saying that that is bad, but if we do not balance it with the feminine of really looking at ourselves from a compassionate, nurturing side and even an intuitive side, then we are not in balance. And once we kind of get both of those in balance, when we really learn the idea of having compassion and love for ourselves, then the masculine part of doing, which is the action of putting confidence forward, will balance out, and it'll be kind of that, you know, you know. I always think about the Libra sign where it has the balances, and we always want it to go like that. We have now balanced it out, and we are going in and out of these all day long, like all day long. We are literally doing the law of rhythm because we are cycling through these all day long, moment to moment, second by second. So that was a lot to probably take in, and it probably seems like, oh my God, these are a lot of rules that I have to do. But the truth of the matter is we are doing them all the time. So if we can identify them like I did that day where I was like, holy crap, right? When we can identify them and then make that shift to align with our life and actually put it into action, then we are living in also what is known as the divine, living in divine flow, which is also another law that falls under, that kind of starts to fall under into the subcategories of all of these. But and it could be a very, very beautiful dance. Yeah.
Wow, Kelly, thank you. What beautifully explained. That's it. We can finish here, I think. That's you've
I know.
just explained all everybody we all need to know as humans. But no, that this I just love the way that you've explained each one of those so beautifully, so practically. And as you were talking, I was feeling that I love the fact that you meld your scientific research with your spiritual knowledge and your intuitive knowledge, and you've got that sort of whole package. And I was just sort of, as you were talking through each one, I was kind of recognizing how these principles now are not common parlance, should we say, but they're becoming recognizable, maybe not under that umbrella name of the seven Hermetic Principles, but they are recognizable by, most people, I would say. So, as you say that, we're working in them and with them, and they're working with us, even when we're not aware. So, could you give some, because we really want to dive into how your method works with those in a little while, but how do
Yeah.
these ancient principles show up even when we're not aware of them? You gave a few examples. Could you give kind of yeah, just in terms of sort of moving through our everyday, how maybe three or four of them might just turn up and we're not consciously aware of them, and how that might happen if we're, what might happen if we're not, when we're not conscious of them. I think that'd probably be the best way to
Yeah,
pose the question. Does that make
yeah, I understand what you're asking. Yes. So I'm going to say the one that shows up constantly because we cannot turn it off is thought, is mentalism. We are constantly in that principle of mentalism. A good, like, again, a good example is even before I hopped on here, I was in deep thought going, well, what is it that I'm gonna wear? It can be like we can take these very complex concepts and really break them down to something very simple. So we are constantly in thought, right? And if we're being honest, when we're thinking, how often are we thinking about how our thoughts are affecting the harmonic resonance, right? I'm gonna, if I'm being honest, if when I'm going through a 24-hour period, I'm probably thinking about it maybe once or twice, only because I'm aware of it, right? So once these things become like once we really incorporate these things into awareness, we actually start to do them because we've actually put them into our subconscious that says pay attention to this, which is beautiful because our subconscious runs 95% of our day anyways. So when we start working in coherence with our subconscious and our higher mind, we actually, believe it or not, bring these things into our conscious awareness. We really start acting them out. So again, it's not very often that we're thinking about, well, I wonder this thought that I have about how I'm a horrible speaker because I used to have that thought all the time. How is that affecting the harmonic resonance? Well, the best way, and again, these are very complex concepts. But now, when I'm thinking, if I do think that thought of how is it affecting it, I instantly go into to the law of cause and effect, right? Because my cause is the thought. The effect is what is it doing to the harmonic resonance? And I may not know the answer to that, but maybe the answer to that is I'm going to say me being self-conscious about something. Kirsty, let's say that you go to step into something, it may latch on to whatever that potential frequency is in your body, and then all of a sudden it begins to vibrate, and you're like, why am I feeling like this? So again, it's part of that concept, right? So again, I'm going to tell you, as much as we want to think of these concepts of being singular and like it's only one step at a time, they actually all work simultaneously if you think about it. So everything that we're doing, literally these concepts are all coming into play all at once, all simultaneously, because I can take that cause and effect and be like, okay, so this is what I'm vibrating again, right? The law, like now I'm stepping into the law of vibration, which then is connecting to the law of correspondence, as within, so without, and that is what I'm projecting out, not only into the world but into the harmonic resonance. Is that making sense? We truly are so connected. Like I always tell people, I'm
Yeah.
like, you have no idea that there is no separation in this world, none whatsoever. And every single way, we are so connected. And, quantum mechanics
Mm.
actually proves that point. And as much as we want to say science, like as much as we want to say science is separate from spirituality and spirituality is separate from psychology and psychology is separate from biology, it is not true. And again, the law of rhythm, it's all cyclical, it's all connected. So I don't know. I'm like, I'm really trying to explain it without trying to repeat myself, but like, but believe it or not, we are actually experiencing all of these on a subconscious level. The key is to work together with our conscious mind and our subconscious mind and our higher self to have this collaborative relationship to know that like when we are moving in and out of it and how we can shift that because we can change the effect of the cause that we're creating. We can change our vibration and how we feel within. We can change our thoughts. So we have to work together. And honestly, I do feel like that's kind of part of what my work is when I work with people is helping them create that coherency between consciousness, unconsciousness, and the higher mind. Because when we can work in collaboration with all of them, whoo, we are very powerful beings. And our intuition like expands. It's incredible. So I hope that answered your question. Um,
Oh, that that really did, and it's. I mean, once more, you've managed to make potentially very, very complex, cerebral themes into something relatable. And the two things that stood out to me as you were talking was this the oneness, the interconnectedness, and the power of sovereignty and stepping into that active control, which of course comes up when you're able to make it conscious. So those are feel like such pertinent themes in this now moment as we stand in history in her story. So thank you. That's beautiful. But let's dive in. Kate, I think you've got a question about
Moving
how
on
this.
into practicality, I would like to ask your clarity method, if I'm pronouncing it right. Can you
yes,
get in?
so it's really interesting because my clarity method came from a download. If I'm being honest, I was like, I'm gonna relax in my bathtub with my bubbles. And I get downloads at the weirdest moments, mostly when I'm trying to sleep. I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't sleep at all last night. But so I was sitting there and I was really, I'm gonna be honest, like I was going through one of those, all those, the state of alchemy. I was kind of in the stage of going, like, what am I doing? Like, what is my purpose? Like, I get all of this information and what am I gonna do with all of this, right? And literally, it was almost like I started to get this download. Like the brain that my works is really like almost like a computer processing system. So I started getting all of these downloads, but what I was seeing was what I have been learning and connecting throughout my entire life in the different ways that I have moved with the flow of, I'm going to say with the flow of my life. And then it was like all of a sudden I started seeing these pillars and kind of getting these things connected to the pillars. So, yes, the clarity method, clarity, each one is a pillar. They are not linear. So you can use them in any order because once we step into this, right, we're talking about universal laws, which has no time space whatsoever. And the clarity method actually corresponds to these principles. We are no longer in linear time. So they can't, so there, so you can you can go back and forth in using any of these, is I just want to point out, but I'm going to give them to you linearly so that we understand. So the first pillar, which actually does align with mentalism, is called channel the now. So when we talk about channel the now and we use this in a practical form, we're going to talk about, okay, so what are my thoughts? Like I have said, like with mentalism, right? What am I thinking? What is my belief? And then somatically, where am I feeling that in my body? Because when we can bring the mind, body, and soul together, it actually helps it heighten our intuition and our understanding. When we are no longer looking outside and we're going inside, we have all of the answers. So if I have the belief that I am not good enough, right? That is my thought. And I go inside, where am I feeling that in my body? Well, I can tell you every time that I get the sense that I'm not good enough, I feel that right smack in the center of my belly and my solar plexus, right? Because I've now given away my power. And it's about when we talk about channeling the now, we're actually talking about channeling this intuitive information back in, bringing it from the fragmentations that are out there back into our bodies so that we have an understanding of it. And now we are in a collaborative relationship with it. We are saying, I recognize you, I hear you, and now I'm ready to work with you. So the next part of that is locating the pattern, right? So I may get a little bit psychology in this sense, but I'm going to tell you, our subconscious and our body has no idea when trauma has happened. It just knows that it's trauma. So I'm going to tell you, I'm of the belief that when we do, like in hypnosis, we call it timeline or revivification. Well, no, I'm sorry, timeline therapy. Going all the way back into that timeline, we have to really be delicate with that because the body and the mind, and again, the subconscious doesn't know that what we're revisiting is something in our linear time that happened 10, 15 years ago. When we bring it up, we are now bringing it back up as if it is happening in the now again. So we have to be very, very careful with that. And the truth is that we are vibrating at such a high rate that we actually don't necessarily have to revisit the past. We can process it out by just bringing it to our awareness. So that's really what locate the pattern is. It's not like a reliving of the experience, but the moment, and I'm going to tell you, the moment that we go into the channel of the now, we have now activated the subconscious and the higher mind. So if we, even when we go in and we're like, where is this pattern located? Our subconscious mind will automatically go, oh my God, it was when I was 4 years old. Oh, and then this other incident happened. And in psychology, we call those memory chains. But it's really, imagine it like a web. You've got a memory here that then has a frequency or a vibration that goes to here, and then it goes to here, and it goes to here, and it's all connected into the center, right? Whatever that belief is. So that's about just kind of locating the patterns. If we can start kind of bringing those up, really the purpose of that is awareness. I'm starting to bring up the awareness that that there is a connection and that's okay. And part of that, when we bring up that awareness and we start locating the pattern, again, we're going back inside. So, as within, so without. So, remember, our patterns move across all spectrums of who we are. So, when we locate that pattern, we can then start to see that, oh, yes, this pattern connects to my relationships. It also has a connection to, and I'm using more like 3D level stuff, it's connected to my finances. Oh my gosh, this is now connected to my job. Like this is connected to, my spirituality. We will start to see the pattern all across. And remember what we feel inside that we have now discovered that I maybe like I don't have self-worth or I'm not enough is now feeding into these patterns. Okay? So then the next one is embody the essence, which is really about vibration. And this is actually my favorite part that we do. And it's really about going in and checking out the vibration of your landscape. What's going on in your mental landscape. And I mean mental as in the mind, and I mean mental as out there. And this is where I feel like the subconscious really starts to have fun because we're literally tapping into that part of you because it's the subconscious that works with the higher mind that reprograms everything. It's not our conscious mind that reprograms it because we get our conscious mind and then we start thinking about all these other things, right? It is the subconscious that does the reprogramming. So embodying the essence is really going into that vibrational match. And then we allow the subconscious to bring up the landscape that is connected to that vibrational match because it knows exactly the map you need. And then we start moving it around and we start like really going in there and rewiring and recreating, like collapsing those old programs, creating those new programs. Because we're always running programs as much as we want to say, I want my program to leave. Well, you got to replace it with something. The subconscious always says, whatever we get rid of, it needs to be replaced with something. So the beautiful thing about the subconscious is that it doesn't speak in just regular words. It speaks in metaphors and symbols, and it's so much fun. And I am very clairvoyant. So when I get into your energy and we go through this mental or mind landscape, I actually can see everything that your subconscious is creating. So that's the little fun piece for me. But now we rewired it. And the cool thing is the conscious mind doesn't need to know what happened and actually we don't want it to actually understand it because then it'll try to label it and start to put it into categories and then we're actually undoing that work. So then after that is the A, which is accessing the timeline, which connects to polarity. So when we go into timeline, we're talking about the quantum field. We're talking about all of these potentials. And potential is frequency. So when we talk about frequency, we're talking about the number of events, we're talking about the number of waves that are connected to these events. And so when we are in that timeline and we are looking at the polarities, remember I talked about there's always a middle ground of that. So do I want to access the timeline where I'm still feeling, like I'm not enough, my self-worth is rock bottom, or there's the timeline that's all the potential timeline that is I'm arrogant, I'm cocky, I'm overly confident in all of the not so desirable ways? Or do I want to have that confidence and be humbled at the same time? And and mind you, there are infinite amount of timelines. So that, I mean, to me, when I go in there, I'm like, woo, look at all these potentials, right? But that's really what we're doing. So we need to figure out where do we want our polarity to fall. And if we can understand both sides of that spectrum, we then can, instead of throwing one or the other out, we then can integrate it together to find that balance. And that's part of accessing the timeline. Like, which one do you want? How do you want it to be? So then next, we're going to talk about recalibrating the frequency, which is really aligns with rhythm. We want to feel that flow. When we locate that frequency of that potentiality, the moment that we look at that wave, it collapses into a particle, which then creates the vibration. The vibration is just, it's just oscillating back and forth. And again, everything is vibrating. And then we have now created that particle. Well, then we can step in, I'm going to say we can embrace that energy, because energy is about animating things into creation. Now, once I've recalibrated that, and now I have got that particle that's vibrating back and forth, I now can use energy to create what it is that I want to create, if that makes sense. And all three of those work together simultaneously, just like all of the laws. So now I'm ready to create, right? So now what do I want to do? Is the next pillar, which is integrate the truth, which goes with cause and effect, right? So now here I am, and I'm in a state where I can use that energy to create. It really comes down to choice. Cause and effect is truly about choice. Do I want to stay where I'm at, which is fine? We can do that, no judgment. Or, but I have to know that if I stay in this state, the effect is everything that has been happening to me most likely will continue to happen to me, right? That's the effect. Or I can choose to integrate all of this new exciting stuff that I just changed so that I can have the effect of my reality is a lot easier. When I step into a room, I'm not afraid to talk to people because I have this self-confidence. So that's part of integrating the truth. But we have to do a step. It doesn't have to be a big one. We have to take some sort of action to tell the universe that, yes, this is the direction that I want to move into. Like, we can't just think it, because the universe is always in action. It's always in motion. So we have to do a motion. So even if it's sitting down and journaling about it, that's an action step. We want to do some sort of action. And then the T is trust your intuition, which is about the law of gender, the masculine and the feminine. So when I'm going in and I'm feeling all of this, where is that balance? Because that's what intuition is. It's all about masculine and feminine energy. Like, where is that balance? So I always use the idea of compassion. If I'm beating myself up because I feel this way, let's go into it intuitively and the soft side of intuition and really feel into that. Is that really who you are? Is that really how you want to be? And ultimately, is that really your truth? So we start giving that compassion. And then once we start getting that compassion and then that understanding, we can step into that masculine and be like, well, I don't want to be that anymore. I'm going to start doing the steps to be something else. But your intuition, we are all intuitive beings, all intuitive beings. Um, so just a caveat, I used to work a lot with first responders, and first responders hates when you use the word intuition. And I would use it on purpose because that is who I am. I have a rowdy side, but I loved it because it would bring up the conversation of intuition. And they'd be like, that's just like woo-woo stuff. That's just make believe. And I'm like, really? Because and I think Kirsty, you and I talked about, we talked about instinct, right?
Yeah,
Was
we
it
did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we did.
for them, their correlation to that is the idea, like they'll tell me I have instincts, and I'm like, yeah, you have that raw survival skill. But I always ask them, I'm like, have you ever gone to have you ever gone to a call, and the moment that you go to that call, you look at your partner and you're like, I've got a bad feeling about this. And they're like, well, yeah, yeah, of course, because it's part of our job. I said, that feeling is intuition. Your instinct is how you react to that intuition. And then it's kind of like I could see, and then they kind of start thinking about it. So I bring this up because we are all intuitive beings, just like we're all instinctual beings. But it is our intuition that tingles before the instinct comes out, if that makes sense. We get the little spidey sense before our intuition. So our intuition is about balancing that masculine and feminine because we have to use both when we're using our intuition. And another example might be like we get the tingly sense about the intuition, that is the feminine side. The instinct can then become the masculine side, right? Like now I got to run because holy mackerel, this animal's gonna attack me. So then finally we get into why, which is yield to divine timing. And honestly, that harmonizes all of the principles together. It is a beautiful harmonic resonance because what we need to understand is that we do not live in the past, we do not live in the present, we live in the here and now. And every single moment is perfect timing. We're exactly where we need to be. And even if we sit here and we think, oh my gosh, I'm going through this really miserable thing that I need healing for, it is the right timing because the body, the mind, and the soul are saying it is right now in this moment, it's the time to heal. So we are always in perfect timing. And so if we live in the now and we live where we're at, right in this perfect timing, life is so beautiful. Every part of it. So, like I said, they're not linear, but it is, but like what I realized I got was like, it was the practical structure of it because I could go into all of the harmonic principles, I could go into the spirituality of it, but if we're not actually doing stuff to integrate what it is, then all it becomes is knowledge or just intellectual, and that's it. So, it's really fun. And when you put the principles and the method together, like they really help you move from this unconscious like reaction to this really intentional living. And in all honesty, that's all that I want. I want us all to live intentionally and in alignment and just at the end of the day, when we start to transition over and that moment, that second before we go, you know what? I had a really good life here on earth and it was beautiful. And now I'm moving on to the next. I'm all to the next cycle of our way of being, right? But yeah, so that is my method and it doesn't take a lot of time to do all of it. It sounds like it does, but it really doesn't. And people don't even realize that they're moving in and out of those pillars, just like we're moving in and out of all of the seven hermetic principles. So
Kelly,
yeah,
could you share, because I love the little story time. Uh, could you share maybe yours one or someone's real life example of someone using the clarity method, to shift their reality or stay in harmonic resonance in the field? Could you share some examples how
yeah.
it affected or how it changed? The wow moments, the aha moments, because this is like. I think it's gonna be easier for us also to understand.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So now let's really put it all together, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually worked with someone just a few days ago where we used this method and she was really struggling with I'm gonna be honest, it's it not being seen, being ignored, and when she came to me, it was like, well, it's all their fault. Like, why aren't they paying attention to me? Like, I'm a good person. I'm this, I'm that, right? Which is usually how we all start out, even when, like, even before we snap out of it and go, well, wait a minute. Where is my responsibility in this? But I could see that it was really, really hard for her. So as we started using the method, I really do always start with channeling the now. Where are you right now? What exactly are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? Because we need to lay them out on the table. So that is where we started. I won't go through each and everything, just know that we were moving in and out of everything. But then we started, because I know just going through all of these is quite long. But again, always start with channeling now. Where are you right now? Where are you in this moment right now? Where are you feeling this? What is it? Why do you think that you're feeling this? And just kind of letting people just kind of be like blah all out, right? Well, in that, I'm going to say in that channeling the now and blowing it all out, believe it or not, we start locating those patterns and we don't even realize it because the subconscious kicks in and it starts telling us. It really starts communicating with us if we're willing to listen to it. So then as we were doing that, we started moving through the patterns and we really started connecting all of the dots, not in just this lifetime, but also in other lifetimes, because they all connect. And the ultimate pattern that came up was not about needing attention, being seen, being heard. Those were all symptoms of it, right? But it was abandonment. And that she was really feeling not only her self abandonment, but she was feeling and so the world was projecting back to her abandonment from all of these people. So now we located the pattern, right? So now I'm like, let's do the fun part of like the mindscaping part, which is now we're going to embody that vibration. We're going to embody that frequency and like find the frequency, embody the vibration. So we went through this mindscaping, and to just put kind of the mindscaping into perspective, it really is a visualization process. People like I did hypnosis for a long time. People are like, I don't visualize, and I'm like, describe an apple to me, and they're visualizing it. So we all visualize in some kind of way. And so it's through this visualization process that we ask the subconscious to show us the map that leads to the pathway to overcome this. And it'll take you to all crazy places. Let me tell you, it's so much fun. But like as we're moving through this map, it is rewiring that belief of abandonment to, I'm going to say, to something else. And I don't have to know what that something else is. And neither, honestly, neither do you. You just have to know that it's working. So it's rewiring it to that something else. Well, once we have it rewired, and oftentimes people come out of it and they're like, I'm so relaxed. Like, I feel so good. And then they'll say, I don't understand why I feel so good. And I'm like, well, we just rewired all of that and we rewired it on a physiological level. So we rewired all of that. Then we start moving into it. Okay, so now that it's rewired, what is it that you do want? So now let's start accessing those timelines. Wow, because now that information is actually going to be coming from the subconscious. And the subconscious is going to tell us because it just healed all of that. And the subconscious is saying, well, I don't want to feel abandoned. I don't want abandonment. So what is that? So what does that look like if we're in the middle of the road? It means I need to start paying more attention to me. Like I need more self-care. And then the story came up is that she literally abandoned herself years ago and put everything else above her. And literally, it was almost like she left herself to rot. And it's like, and she's like, I don't want that anymore. Right? So great. So now we have made the choice. We have found the timeline that you want to step onto, that potentiality. Right? We're going to collapse that wave, turn it into that particle, and now we're going to use the energy to move it forward. So the next question is, if that's the life that you really want, what can you do today to start doing it? And her method was, I'm gonna go brush my horses and just be one with my horses. Fantastic, easy, simple. Your horses are right there. Go do it. And it was just as simple as that. And believe it or not, through this entire process, when we talk about trusting her intuition, she was moving in and out of that masculine energy. Like all of this is your own intuitive information. It's not coming from me. I'm holding the space, but you're driving the bus, right? And at the end of it, you could see that it started to balance because she went from, you know what, I really do care about myself and I really did abandon myself. And not that she was feeling sorry for herself, but it was almost like she had this newfound like love and compassion for herself. And she goes, I really do want to love myself because when I love myself, my girls experience that cause and effect, right? So then from there, so then we moved in there and I always ask, how do you feel right now in this moment? So now I'm doing a check, right? To yielding to divine timing. And people start to realize that they really were in the perfect place at the perfect time, right in this moment. Because if it wasn't this moment, we wouldn't have been able to change all of that. And it's the perfect timing. And and then you people start wanting to live more in the now instead of in the future or in the past, which we both know doesn't truly exist because it's all happening now, right? So that's a kind of a quick example of us moving through all of that and really moving through the flow of that. And it was really interesting to even go back because as we're talking, because that's all I do is just have a conversation with people. As we were talking, she looked at me and then she identified her own rhythm. She says, "Oh my gosh, do you know that every time I fall into this despair, it's right around the anniversary of when my mom passed." So there's the cycle.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, we can break that cycle now because it's in your awareness and you just created a new path with a new cycle.
Hmm.
So,
Wow. This sounds mind-blowingly profound. Honestly, I love, and that all happened in one session, right?
yeah, it took us about an hour to move through. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it really doesn't take long. Once we get honestly, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the higher mind, all are like all on the same coherency, it all starts to move very quickly. And the
That's
magic
beautiful.
really does happen in that mind when we're redoing that landscaping because now we've got the subconscious mind and the higher mind that are like it's literally like a playground for them. And the higher mind is guiding the subconscious and how to create that better program because the higher mind is connecting to source and source is the ultimate thing and source isn't here to lead us astray or tell us, to create a pattern that is not good for us. In fact, Source Creator is so excited because we're saying, hey, we're learning from this experience that we came in to do. And Source Creator says, well, here, let me help you out. And then the higher mind is literally kind of like the mediator that says, Source says to do this. Source, what? Oh, Source is saying this is what you need to create. And it's so beautiful to watch. And it's fun. And what we're here to do is to be a service, right? Not like we need to take care of ourselves, but part of taking care of ourselves is being that shining light for other people to see that they too have that exact like they have that exact same light that it comes from source. And I know that what I shared like I know it's really complex and everything. Like I said, this has been my entire life. But ultimately, I just want people to see how radiantly beautiful they are. And it's just, I want them to shine. And we did come here and we chose to come through and have these experiences and which is really courageous of us because we are in the hardest place possible. And yet even through all of it, we still shine like diamonds on the inside. And it's just a matter of rediscovering that and coming home to who we've always been. So that is what I tried to do.
Oh, Kelly, it's just gorgeous. And the fact that you've brought, these quite complex practices, therapies into this one beautifully aligned package, and your joy and your passion for assisting others, it's just bubbling up, and I'm sure everybody can hear it and see it. It's just gorgeous to watch. So thank you for bringing that through, and I'm just awestruck really that you can have such a deeply profound shift in one session. So I think that's just gorgeous. So everybody will be putting the details in the show notes below so that if you want to book a session with Kelly, you can. So thank you, my love. You really are a guiding light yourself.
Thank you so much.
So we're kind of coming towards the end of our time, which is crazy because I feel like we've been here for 5 minutes. But we cannot let you go, Kelly, without asking you the question that we ask of all our beautiful guests, which is, and I'm sure you've got so many, but just for the purposes of our show today, could you perhaps relate? And I know you have got loads because you've been awake since you were born, essentially. But what is the most magical or angelic or even joyous event that has truly transformed your life, please? And sorry if that's put you on the spot, but
No,
just
not at all.
for fun.
So I don't know if it's true. It really hasn't truly been just one event. I can tell you it's kind of one theme that has happened. And I want to share this with the caveat that like I have always come from the belief that things that happen, experiences are happening for us, not to us, which I think is really important for us to understand. And that really is part of what the principles are about, is our own sovereignty of knowing that everything really is happening for the expansion of our soul. Like that's what we're here to do. So oftentimes when people ask me what my magical moment is, I'm like, it's the 2 times that I died. And then the other 2 times where I had an out of body experience that I truly believe that if I was not outside of my body, then it would have been one of my exit points. So usually when I say that, people are like, "What?" But again, life's happening for us, not to us. So I have had two near-death experiences where I actually had the experience of floating out of my body, looking down at it, hearing everything vibrationally within the cosmos, and coming back into my body. Um, I made the choice to come back each time because I've always felt like I came here for a reason. Like why am I leaving? I don't want to leave prematurely, right? So both times I've come back into my body, but I think the most magical times that happened. I have to go back. The times that I had the near death experiences, I 100% wholeheartedly know that it was the angels that helped me through that. So each time I had an angel come in and support me in that experience. And it like there is no, I'm gonna tell you, I can't, there is no human words for me to describe how that feels. I mean, it is pure unconditional love, but like the oneness is so profound. There is no words to describe it. And so in both of those near death experiences, I came back more, I'm all more intuitive, more in tune, more in alignment with source creator. So which is crazy. I, you have like one near death experience you think would be enough, but two. But so then in my outer body experience, this is when I really learned how incredibly powerful we are. And I don't think that people really understand how powerful we are until when we have an experience. So in both of those, like I said, if I would have stayed in my body, I more than likely would have died. But it was really interesting because what had happened is like I literally left my body. And I'm going to tell you, at the time, I did not realize that that's what had happened until I went back to really look at those potentialities. I was like, what happened there? So, anyways, both of them were potential car accidents that I was in, that I experienced or could have experienced. But what was interesting is when I went back to look at that, and I'll use the one experience. I think I was like 21. And it's so odd. I was at this gas station. My friend was outside of the car. I was sitting in her car that was pumping gas. She was pumping gas, which means we were highly flammable, right? So this accident happens, and this car, the driver of one of the cars starts coming straight towards us, completely passed out, doing about 70 miles per hour. I'm going to tell you, there is no way possible that that car could have just veered about a half an inch to miss our car. No, it's just not, like, from a human standpoint, it's not possible. Like, it had to be something so divinely that happened. And I remember seeing all of this. And interestingly enough, for me, when traumatic incidents happen, it's like my whole world slows down. And I'm watching this car, and I remember thinking, holy crap, I'm gonna die, and so is everybody in this gas station. Because if it would have hit our car, of course it would have exploded. Like, anyone in the vicinity of that would have died. And at the time, all I recall was seeing, and it was kind of fuzzy, like this woman. And I just remember the woman like looking at me, and I was so connected to her. And I just saw her go like this, and the car literally missed us by about a half an inch. And then it went by us, and then it completely stopped. Now, a car that's doing 70 miles an hour, the only way it's going to stop is if it's going uphill or it runs into something, right? It just completely stopped. My friend, who always claimed I'm such an atheist, she looked at me and she goes, "Oh my God, I believe in God now." Because it was so mind-blowing. And then I just remember, like, after the car stopped, I looked again at, like, the quote unquote woman that was in front of me, and I was just like, she was gone. And I remember me and my friend that day, we were on our way to a party, because that's what we did, right? When we were young. We drove to the party like in silence because we were like, there is no way that we should have survived that. So I had another experience with that in another car accident where I got hit, and I was like in the fast lane, and my car literally spun in the middle of like rush hour traffic, spun between two different cars. I missed a cement mortar because they were doing work on the interstate by just a few inches, and the door, and where my door was right up against the tree. And my car came to a complete stop. It's like the way that it was spinning, it should have just kept spinning into the tree. And if I would have hit the tree, it would have smashed me. But it didn't. And I remember when I was, of course, my time slowed down. I'm spinning through these cars. I'm literally looking at this poor lady who is like terrified. I can still remember her face going as I'm facing her and spinning through her. But again, I saw the same figure. And I knew, and it was so weird because I let go of the wheel, and I knew that whatever was happening, that I was going to be okay. And I remember when the officer showed up and the paramedics, they were like how did this happen? You know? But again, like I said, like I play in the field of potential. So I had always thought, oh, well, that must have been my guardian angel. And I do believe in guardian angels, but I also believe that we are our own guardian angels as well. And when I went back and I really got to see this, when Divine Source was like, here it is, what I realized is that it was me stepping out of my body, because my soul was not meant to experience that trauma, and I helped myself through it so that I didn't have that trauma. I don't have any trauma connected to almost dying from the 70-mile-per-hour car hitting me, nor that accident. And I say that because I think we have all of this magical help, but the most magical help we have is ourselves. So why not trust what we have when we are so powerful, so beautiful, and we really, everything we need is all within. And I got to actually experience that in those two moments. And even when I talk about it, I'm like, don't cry, Kelly, don't cry, because it was just so profound. And I'm gonna say, in all four of those incidents, each time changed my life, changed my soul in such a better way that I really do believe, and I believe this with everybody, I'm here for a reason. Like, I'm here for a purpose. And even if I have these crazy complex ideas, that I know that eventually they will be heard and they will be understood. And if that's all that I'm here to do is to help people hear them, understand them, and then integrate them in the best possible ways in their life, my job is done. And we get our gifts for a reason, and a lot of times we don't realize what they are. I've just always trusted that whatever I was here to do will reveal itself. And I do feel like it is my time because we're moving into that new earth. And I do believe that these concepts are part of the new earth concepts, where we are bringing back those beautiful concepts of, like, I want to say the olden days, the mystical days that have been swept under the rug, to keep quiet because, I'm all the meaner forces don't want us to know how magical and how powerful we are, but they are starting to reveal themselves again, and they're coming back up, coming back up. And I just feel like it's time. Yeah.
Wow, Kelly, that was such an abundant episode. Like, you've shared so much. I don't even know where to begin. Okay, and yes, it does reveal itself, and it will. And just having that trust and hope and faith in it, and just all in the right timing, which is now. And speaking of now and right timing, and if anyone would like to contact you, Kelly, to work with you, how can people get in touch with you the best? Like, how can we get a hold of you? Or maybe you have something coming up soon
I
that you would like to
do.
share. Because sometimes it's being, of course, we're going to put everything in the show notes, but if you'd like to share, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so it's at my website. It's called She Rises Consulting because I'm all about empowering women. It is the rise of the feminine. Let's go, women. I'm here for you to support you. So you can get me at sherisesconsulting.com. All of my stuff is on there, my mystery school, my even when I do the business stuff, and I didn't really talk about that at all, but all of this, I'm going to say all of my passionate stuff is right there. You can just go to my website and you can access my services, my mystery school. You can send me an email. I don't, whatever, however you want to connect with me. But I thank you. I do have a workshop that's coming up. It's free. And it's my workshop on alchemy and really identifying the stages that we go through during our personal transformation, those alchemical stages that we go through. And I'm not promising that it's going to make it easier or less uncomfortable because change has to be. So I'm not here to change that per se. But when we understand what stage we're in, we can have more compassion of where we're at, and I'm going to say, in motivation and hope to know that that if we keep moving forward, eventually we'll go from who we were to what we're becoming. And that is part of transformation. So that is what I'm doing. We're going to talk about alchemy. I love alchemy. So we're going to talk about it. And I really want to break it. And it is going to be broken down in those practical steps because I think that when we use the word alchemy, people think it's some big concept, which it kind of is, but it can be broken down to practicality just, for our own personal development, spiritual development, whatever you need it to be.
Thank you,
And
my
that's
love.
on November 1st. So if you want details for that, I can send you the link for people to sign up. Again, it's free because I really want people to take charge of their own healing and transformation. So.
We will absolutely put those details below for everybody. And you are such a light, you're such a joy and a beautiful soul, Kelly. So thank you so, so much. We've had such a lovely time, and you're such an inspiration. So we wish you all the best with bringing that beautiful method into the world because the time is now, and so many people, so many beautiful souls need it. So thank you, my love. Thank you, Kate, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And yeah, we will see you next time. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you, lady.
Thank you to you and to everybody who watches. Thank you so much. So grateful. You have no idea.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.